Hello everyone, it's Nikki and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 4 of my favorite DIY spring crafts, so grab yourself a cup of coffee and let's get started. So I'm going to begin by just applying some Mod Podge directly onto the canvas and then applying the paper directly over it and trying to smooth out the bubbles as best as I can. Now I will be placing that bunny cutout over the paper here, so if you don't get all of the bubbles out, no worries, a good portion of the paper is going to be covered up. Okay, so next up we're going to do a cool little painting technique on our cute little bunny here. So I'm going to be doing a couple different processes here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply some Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss, mainly around the edges of the bunny and where I want that color to come through. This is going to be our underneath color, and then next up we're going to be applying the white color directly over that. This is just a really good kind of cheat technique without wasting a lot of product and just being able to see those colors come through underneath. You do want to make sure that your base color is good and dry before applying the top part. You don't want those colors smudging together. Well, you can see I got a little carried away here and I started to apply my top coat before I wanted to show you the cool technique that I'm going to use. So grabbing some Vaseline, you're going to go ahead and apply it over the area in which you put your base coat on. So as you can see, I'm putting it over the green that I have underneath. Not everywhere, but mainly where I want the distressing to look. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it a good coat of white paint. I'm going to set the bunny aside to dry, and now I'm going to show you how to make this most simplest and cutest little fabric flower. I will post a link above over to my website where you can get a step-by-step tutorial in case you want to go back for reference. So I am using a strip of fabric from one of those bundles that you can get from Joann's. So basically what you want to do is just fold it in half, apply some glue, and then fold it in half and work your way down. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut little strips about a ½ inch in length apart from each other, and you're going to do that all the way down. Now you want to cut your strip about 3/4 of the way down. Of course you don't want to cut it all the way through. These are going to end up being the petals. So next up you're just going to kind of apply some glue down to the base and roll. Apply glue and roll and continue that process all the way down. You can add multiple layers of fabric to this flower to make it look a little bit more detailed. As you can see here, I'm just taking a small scrap that I had and I'm going to repeat the same process. It really just turns it into a beautiful little piece, and we're going to end up using this fabric flower as our little bunny tail. And it's just going to be so cute. Now back to the bunny. Now this is the part that is so fun to me. I love the distressing part. And you can see where we applied the Vaseline how easily that paint comes off. So grab yourself a sanding block. You can pick them up over at the Dollar Tree, or sandpaper, whatever you have, and just start sanding away until you get the look that you want to see. There really is no right or wrong way with the distressing part here. It's really just, like I said, according to how you want it to look. So now I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue it directly over to our Mod Podge canvas piece and apply the little bunny butt flower tail to the back there, and we're just going to add a cute little bow to it, and really that's going to be the project. It really turns out just so adorable. I love it. It's very kind of shabby chic, perfect colors for spring, and just really so easy to do. And here it is all finished, set up in my spring vignette. I hope you guys enjoyed this project. I sure enjoyed making it. And if you like it, please give a thumbs up, leave a comment. I would love for you to be following along, and also checking out createmakedecorate.com for a lot more fun DIYs. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful and blessed day, and we'll see you back here soon. Okay, for this next project, I am going to share with you how I made this really adorable, I like to call a spring bunny topiary. So I'm using a couple recycled things. So you're going to need a pot of some kind. I grabbed mine from the Dollar Tree, and a topiary greenery ball, if you will. And I'm using some cardboard as well as one of those mops from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go ahead and just draw some ears onto the cardboard and then trace out the ears onto the Dollar Tree mop, and then just go ahead and hot glue them right onto the cardboard. As you can see, it's pretty messy. It's a pretty messy job, so you know, make sure you got a good surface that, or a trash can right underneath that you can just kind of swipe those little fuzzies right on into the trash. Then you're just going to go ahead and cut and shape out your ears. I wanted to paint some flowers along my Dollar Tree pot. So as you can see, I'm getting a variety of different beautiful spring colors. And I'm going to grab some of this Waverly chalk paint and moss. This is one of my favorite greens to use. And I'm going to use a sea sponge and just going to kind of go ahead and dab it onto the bottom of the pot there. And this is going to kind of act as the grass for which our flowers are going to grow out of. And then next, I'm really just going to have fun painting some flowers on here, and just really make it really bright and colorful and cheery. A cool technique that I like to use when making flowers or painting flowers is get yourself some Q-tips, and you're gonna get about 7 of them. And as you can see, I kind of shape them in the place them in the shape of a flower, and just tie it off with a small rubber band. Now you're just going to go ahead and take your different paint colors, and you're basically creating like a stamp out of Q-tips. And you're just going to stamp it right onto your pot or the surface of what you're using. Now I like to kind of incorporate different colors, so you're going to see in just a second how once the base color dries, I'm going to add a couple different colors into that same flower just to create some contrast and really just make it pretty. It's all a matter of having fun and getting creative and making your colors and your flowers how you want them to look. You see how beautiful they turn out? Now I'm going to add some more Waverly chalk paint. I think this color is called Pool, and I'm going to dab it on just like I did the green there at the bottom and kind of create the illusion of a sky. Now I love everything to look a little bit more rustic, a little bit more chippy and aged and vintage, so I'm going to also take some of my Waverly antique wax and I'm going to add that to the base and really just kind of play around with the colors, kind of you know, meld them together and get the look that I like, you know. Again, there is really no right or wrong way to do it. I don't think so anyway. I think it's all just a matter of creating something beautiful, kind of getting into that zone and, you know, just dabbing a little bit of here and dabbing a little bit there and really just, you know, turning it into something beautiful and unique that suits your style. Okay, now that everything is painted, we're gonna go ahead and assemble this little spring bunny topiary. So underneath that moss, I have some rocks as well as a floral foam, and then I added some of the Dollar Tree floral moss on top. Now this little topiary ball is recycled from a plant that I've had for quite some time that kind of fell apart. The pot broke, so I kept the greenery to it. And I'm gonna just go ahead and apply the ears right, or set the ears right on in there. I'm not gonna add any glue because I always keep in mind that I'm gonna be repurposing these projects down the road. So I don't wanna ruin the greenery by adding some hot glue in there, so they sat just perfectly. Now I'm gonna go ahead and create a little pom-pom bunny tail. So as you can see, I just took some yarn, wrapped it around my hand, slipped it off, and we're going to go ahead and tie it off, and then cut our loop here. And then we're going to take another small piece of yarn and almost make like a little ghost out of the yarn there. And then that just creates a very simple pom-pom. I'm going to trim it off, cut it off a little bit to make it look like a little bunny tail. And I'm going to set that right on directly into the flower pot. And there you have it, just a very simple and inexpensive way to jazz up your spring decor, just using some recycled items and a little bit of creativity. I just love how this project turned out, and it goes so well with my French country kind of rustic style. It gives just that perfect little pop of color that is needed, and it's just super fun to make. I hope you all enjoyed this project. For this next craft, I'm going to show you how I took a few things from the Dollar Tree and created a really beautiful, I like to call a bunny spring sign. So you're going to need some of these wood bunny ornaments from the Dollar Tree, a sign of some kind. I picked this up over at the Dollar Tree, some beautiful scrapbook paper, as well as some paint and some Mod Podge, and we're going to use a candle technique for this craft. So first and foremost, you're just gonna go ahead and if you have glitter on your frame like I did, just go ahead and try and sand it off as best as you can. Then just take your scrapbook paper and go ahead and Mod Podge it directly onto the sign. Now that you have your paper on there and you got all the bubbles and wrinkles out, I'm going to do a fun little idea with this wooden bunny. Now I've seen it on here before where people take a candle to do a distressing technique. I've never done it before, so this was the first time for me, and I thought it was perfect with this small little bunny to go ahead and try it on. So I'm going to base coat it with the color Moss from Waverly Chalk Paint, again my favorite green to use, and then I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, of course, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun with the candle. Now that the paint was dry, I'm going to take a candle and I'm just going to go ahead and rub it along the surface of the wooden bunny here. And what that's going to do is when I go to paint the white color over the top, the paint isn't going to stick very well where that wax is, so it makes it very easy to distress when you go to take your sandpaper or sanding block to it. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply somewhat of a light coat of that paint over the rabbit, over the green, because I really want that green to show underneath. So applying a full coat would kind of be counterproductive because I'm going to go ahead and just sand it off anyway, as you can see. So here we are with the sanding, and you can see just how simple the paint, the top paint comes off with that candle wax underneath it. Just another fun way to kind of experiment and see what works. You can do this also with Vaseline. You can take Vaseline and place it on top of your base coat and then go ahead and paint over the top. Kind of gives you the same effect, but again, if you have a candle and you don't have any Vaseline, you could at least try this and see what you think of it also. Now it's time to bring our project together. So we're just going to go ahead and assemble by hot gluing that rabbit right onto the frame there, right over your scrapbook paper. I'm just using a cotton ball to, put on as a tail. And Dollar Tree really has some pretty ribbon. So I'm going to make just a very simple bow to put on top of our bunny here, just using a variety of different colors. Again, keeping this very soft. I like more of kind of the pastel-y colors, keep things a little bit more soft, and things that look a little bit more rustic and vintage. And that's all there is to this project. I think it turned out absolutely beautiful. And this just goes to show you that seasonal decor does not have to cost you a ton of money. I made this sign for under $5. I made another one there with some different scrapbook paper. And it's all a matter of just getting creative, you guys, and just creating something unique that fits your style. I hope you enjoyed this project, and I hope you'll be making it. Let me know in the comments which one of these so far has been your favorite. And last but certainly not least in this series of spring craft projects is this Dollar Tree Spring Bunny sign. So you're gonna need 6 of these small frames from the Dollar Tree. I'm using this bunny sign. I'm mainly going to use just the banner that she's holding that says spring. If you can't find her, no problem. Find some cute stickers, or if you're good at freehand drawing and some paper, you can use those as well for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and paint them in some different colors here, some spring colors, some turquoise, some pink, some whites, and really kind of customize them up a bit. Setting aside the frames to dry, I'm going to go ahead and remove the cardboard backings that were in the frames and paint them all white. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and remove the spring banner, and I'm going to cut out those letters individually, and those are going to be hot glued directly onto those little cardboard pieces. And now we're just going to place them all back into our beautiful, colorful frames. Okay, this part is totally optional. I was trying to figure out a way where I can just stabilize the frames to where I didn't have to, kind of actually being a little bit lazy, I didn't want to have to set them up all the time whenever I decided I wanted to move them. So I took some of these garden stakes over from the Dollar Tree and I just hot glued them to the back of the frame to go ahead and just make them all be able to stay together, and so they can be transported easier. It wasn't holding up very well, gluing it to the back, so I went ahead and just kind of flipped it back over, and I wanted to get the bottoms lined up so that they were all even. So you might have to mess with it a little bit if you want to do this step. It did make it easier to transport, and it did make it kind of stay together better instead of having to always kind of move them separately. The frames are small, so they kind of topple over individually on their own a little bit easier than if they were all glued together. So here it is finished. I love the way this project looks too. Hey, I hope you guys have enjoyed all of these crafts. I would love it if you would hit subscribe and subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you're following me along here as well as over on Facebook at Create, Make, Decorate with Nikki. And I would love for you to check out my website, createmakedecorate.com, where you can find a ton of DIYs and step-by-step tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. You all have a wonderful and blessed day, and I will see you back on here soon.